Okay, I also am going to need participation from everybody as well. So I'd like to begin, and I would like you all to take a journey with me. If you will close your eyes and find some kind of peace. Close your eyes. All right, you're going to imagine that you're in the Great Hall and you're waiting to be born. What do you see? Do you smell anything? Is there anybody there with you? And does it feel familiar? Have you been there before? It sounds funny, but open your eyes. During this experiment, some of you may feel like you have been in the presence of familiar. While you were there, you might have been in the presence of familiarity from your current life. Have you felt like you've ever lived before, or you've already accomplished something in your time, or in a time before yours? If so, you may be experiencing something more than deja vu, and you're certainly not alone. You might actually be remembering your past life. The transition of a soul between human bodies, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is reincarnation. It could explain how there are those people that you've met before that you just instantly click with. You feel like you've known them for your entire lives. And then for other people, it's just brand new. It's something that's pure. But maybe you have known them before. Maybe that you've been friends, or maybe they were related to you. You don't really know that. It was said in conversation after I had a really odd experience of my own. I was out to eat, and I had a reaction to somebody that I had never met before, but it wasn't exactly the greatest one. I lost all the color that was in my skin. I got extremely nauseous. I felt like I was getting ready to just completely yak on the table. It was horrible. But somebody said that it could have been me having a past life experience, and that there was some kind of connection made to that person that I had met. For some of you, this is new, and I can understand how bizarre it sounds. But for others, it can be a relief to understand maybe why you feel like you haven't fit in completely to this society. Some people feel like they belong in a time before theirs. Or maybe that they're not ready for what we have now, and they already know things that have not happened. Regardless, you're not alone. There are thousands of cases, and they're not age restricted, they're not color restricted, race restricted. They have nothing to do with that. But there are cases with undeniable proof that their soul had lived in a time before theirs. I'm going to give you two examples. Both of these are children, but it is not restricted to them. One of them, his name was James Leininger. At age 2, he knew that he was a fighter pilot from World War II. He was in the Battle of Iwo Jima, and he knew the exact location of where his plane had been shot down. When he was having nightmares, and his parents would ask him, why are you having these nightmares? What's going on? And he would say like, little man down, little man can't get out, plane crash. And coming from a 2-year-old, that could be a very vivid imagination. That could be too much TV. You don't really know where that could come from. He could pick that out of a random conversation, but it kept continuing and it didn't stop. So his dad wanted to know a little bit more about it, and they were really religious. They were Christians, so they didn't exactly believe, that this isn't really real. You're just making this up. But the child actually came out with real names. He knew that it was the Japanese that had shot him down. So his dad goes to ask him, "How do you know that?" He was like, "The red rising sun." He was like, "It's the Japanese bombing." He also remembered names, exact names. He named the boat that he had taken off from for the very last time. It was the Natoma. He knew Jack Larson and other names as far as Billy, Leon, and Walter. Now, as a 2-year-old, you're not going to pop out with, "Hey, Mom, I know Leon. It was Leon. It was that one." He also remembered that he used to have a sister. His mom was like, "You're an only child. You don't have a sister." So his dad wanted to know more about this. Why is my child popping out with this? And so in the research, since he came up with those names, he discovered that there really was a Natoma. There really was a man named Jack Larson on that ship. And there was, incidentally, a boy, I think his age was 26, and his name was James as well. There was only one soldier that crashed, and it was James Huston. And he knew the exact location. Ironically, it's the same location that plane was shot down. The sister that he was speaking about, her name was Anne. and he knew that he called her Annie. Now, when his mom went to look her up, she was still alive. She was 86, and it was, I guess it was 60 years from the time lapse from where he died to where he was reborn as another child. So his mom got her on the phone, this Anne. He said, the little boy, he asked, he was like, can you send me the picture of you as a child, or as my sister as a child? And she was like, okay, nobody's asked me about that in years. So she sent it to him, and he was like, no, the other one. And this is a 2-year-old saying, no, the other picture that mom drew. And she was like, well, there's not another one. And he was like, no, there is. And he was speaking about a sister that had died whenever she was like 6 months old. And so Anne started to kind of freak out. She's like, wow, nobody knows about that. How do you know about that? For a 2-year-old boy. You can read in Soul Survivor, written by Bruce and Andrea Leininger, his parents, that before even being potty trained, he could walk around a Corsair to conduct a flight check as if he was about to go. You don't choose to have a past life. It's something that you've already lived. It's something that is a part of you, and it's not something that just goes away. Your body is a shell, and your soul is what carries the vibrance of you. It's your essence. Demographics don't play a part, but you could be thinking that people who are adamant about being reincarnated watch too much TV, they're thirsty for fame, because nowadays, let's face it, people will do anything to get, those 5 seconds of fame. There's no religious constraints, and it's not something that you can exactly make up with those kind of names. Another case, in 1997, Kemal Stoy, at the age of 6, he was an Alevi Muslim, and his family lived in Turkey. He knew that he had a past life from Istanbul, which is about 500 miles away. He knew that he had been married. He knew that he was an Armenian Christian in his past life, and he knew that his wife was Greek, and that his parents and her parents didn't get along. They didn't approve of the marriage. He knew that he was wealthy and had a house overlooking a body of water on a hill. It was on the highest hill in Istanbul. So his parents were kind of, they started to freak out. They were like, well, why are you saying this? Why are you feeling this way? So they actually hired somebody to go there, and there was actually only one Christian who lived in the entire space of Istanbul that was Armenian and married to the Greek, and it was actually a huge thing in their community because they came from different religions and the families had a huge dispute about it. With Ian Stevenson's lifelong research in Kemal's father, it was discovered that he was in fact the only one, and it was 40 years previous to the time that he was alive. Having tangible memories is sometimes still not enough. The need to return to where you were before can be great. Leininger actually returned to Japan after his case got some notability. They returned to Japan, the space right where he had crashed. He took them right to it without even looking at a map, dropped some flowers, and his nightmares actually started to go away. Now, he had the random ones. It was actually March 3rd, and so every couple years on March 3rd, he'll have horrible night terrors, and he'll scream the same things, but he's reliving himself crashing down in that plane and being trapped in the cockpit. Have you begun to make connections with your own life? Maybe you have, and you're curious about where you can get this knowledge and where it can take you. Or maybe you're just not ready. If you feel like this has happened to you at any time, I urge you to embrace it. It could be one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. And in some cases, the physical similarities are actually really, really, really close. And I mean, how cool would that be to look and actually pull up somebody from the past and see what you were, like see what you used to look like, who you were, what you used to do, what are your passions of your soul instead of just your physical being. Whilst there is a need in society to explain death and the afterlife, regardless of whether or not that's heaven or hell or just being caught trapped here as a ghost on earth or whatever it is that you believe, it is scientifically noted that memories pointing towards past lives are in fact real. In an article written by Robert Yanza in the Huffington Post, although individual bodies are destined to self-destruct, the alive feeling, the who am I, is like a 20-watt fountain of energy pedaling in the brain. But this energy doesn't go away at death. One of the surest axioms of science is that energy never dies.